welcome to episode 57 of the Crochetcakes podcast. My name is Clarissa and I am your host for each and every episode you will find on this channel from February 2018 onwards, because that was when I moved to Florida, which is where I'm coming to you from. If you are a returning viewer, then thank you so much for coming back and spending some crafty time with me. And if you're a new viewer, thank you so much for clicking that button and spending your day with me, whatever part of the day that may be. I am very, very happy to have you guys here, and I'm very happy to be with you here once again, because this is the last podcast of the year, guys. It is the 20th of December, and Christmas is in full swing. I can't believe it, honestly, because, guys, December has just flown by, hasn't it? And if you're a fellow maker, then you are probably as overwhelmed as I am if you just, making Christmas gifts. We always have a whole year to plan them and decide to make them last minute. It's just the way it goes. But if you are interested in spending more crafty time with me that does not include this podcast, then feel free to follow me on Instagram. I'm Crochetcakes everywhere. And by everywhere, I mean Instagram, LO, Ravelry, Pinterest. I will be accessing those forms of social media during the holidays. It will just be not an actual podcast coming to you guys, but hopefully I'll be doing more stories on Instagram just to share a little bit of my day with you. You can also, at my blog, I will put the link down below, but it's crochetcakes.com, and you may also shoot me an email at crochetcakespodcast@gmail.com. As always, all the links will be found down below. What I will say is I will be closing down the Etsy shop starting tomorrow, Friday the 21st of December, because I will be in Puerto Rico, which means I can't ship any of the stuff out. All the sales that we're currently running in the shop, I'm sorry you guys missed them, but for those of you that made it, then thank you so much for checking out the shop and including the sales. But I think that concludes the general admin section of this podcast. It is time to move on to some other crafty news. Why not? Some other crafty news. And what I really wanted to say is thank you to everybody who contacted me asking for my address to just send me a Christmas card, send me little gifts in the mail. I loved every single one of them, and I love receiving postcards about Christmas. I mean, I just love receiving postcards in general, but when they have to do with Christmas, they always go up on my Christmas tree. And I put a little video up on Instagram of how the tree is looking with all the lovely Christmas cards. It's a 3-foot tree, so I think I'll probably, when we get a bigger tree, leave that tree just for postcards and put the decorations on the bigger tree. It just makes it so much easier when you actually don't have decorations on the tree to put up the Christmas cards. Specific thank yous to Lori, who sent me the most amazing little package with stitch markers and a beautiful card and some chocolates, which I already ate. And I also wanted to say that Lori, she has a podcast channel up. She's been doing Vlogmas, and her channel, I will include the link down below as well, but she's Lori Lulu 327. And she's going to be starting a podcast, hopefully on the 1st of January or sometime in the new year. And speaking of new podcasters, Monica, the winner from the Socktober giveaway, which I did in the previous podcast, has her own podcast channel as well. And her podcast is called Unseen Strands, and it's a proper podcast because it's audio. So if you guys want to go check that out, I promise you won't be disappointed. They're short and sweet, which I find very satisfying because, I don't know, sometimes I really want to know that I just sat down for 30 minutes to work on something. It helps me time it. So yes, congratulations to both Monica and Lori. I hope your year is amazing and that you continue podcasting on strongly. And as well, thank you to MG Camacho. I think I'm remembering that correctly. Because you also sent me a lovely package. I have yet to receive it, but I'm sure I'll get it today or tomorrow. Still time because I leave tomorrow at 9:30 at night and I get to Puerto Rico at 1 in the morning. What are you gonna do, guys? Home for Christmas, right? It's the most important thing, that you're home for Christmas. And I know I mentioned Vlogmas, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my Vlogmas. Now, I've only done 3 Vlogmas episodes in the channel, and that is because it's Vlogmas, guys. And if I'm not doing something Christmas related every day, then I'm not gonna vlog about it, because for me, that's what Vlogmas is about. Just seeing all the wonderful Christmas spirit and seeing how everybody else celebrates Christmas. That's the important thing to me. I don't know. That's just how I feel about Vlogmas. So I really liked Sandra's, who is Cherry Hearts, her approach, because she did her Vlogmases in parts. So she did kind of like part 1, and she had small cumulative videos of Christmassy things she's done throughout the month of December. And I really, really liked that idea. I also liked the idea of posting an Instagram live story every day about something Christmassy. I thought that was really fun, and I tried to do it every once in a while as well. So if you don't follow me on Instagram and you have an Instagram account, then please do so, because I will be posting some Christmassy related videos today and tomorrow and all the holidays thereafter that follow while I am in Puerto Rico. So yes, I think that really is it for channel admin things, except for podcast goals and podcast news for the year. So this year, I know I was very lax with Ravelry. I didn't really pay that much attention to the Ravelry thread or to running some alongs. That was mostly because I was very overwhelmed by the number of alongs that I really wanted to participate in. In the end, I only ended up participating in 1 or 2 alongs, and that was it, which I am very disappointed about. And that's why this year I also want to participate in hosting some alongs, not just participating in other people's alongs. Oh my goodness, that's a hard thing to say. So I do have some in mind. Some of them were year-long, and they had to do with socks, but I'm not sure about that because, you know, not everybody likes crocheting socks. But I figured I'd leave it open. And then I thought, a year of crocheting socks or knitting socks. A lot of people do that. So how can I make it more us, more part of our Ravelry group and our crochet community? So I'm still fine-tuning some of those ideas. I do have some tutorial ideas to upload to the YouTube channel. If you don't know, I uploaded a tutorial, I guess you could call it a tutorial or more of a design video for the crochet cropped sweater that I made using Bernat Home Deck yarn, which is a bulky weight cotton nylon blend, and it's beautiful to work with. I really enjoyed it. You can check out the blog post I wrote for that, as well as the 3 tutorials that are linked in the blog, and you'll also find them in my YouTube channel. And basically they're a tutorial for how I did the stitches, how I seamed the garment, and how I picked up sleeve stitches, because I know I get a lot of questions for how I seam garments together, and I know there are a lot of questions of how to pick up sleeve stitches without, you know, having it be bulky. So I just thought I'd share with you guys what I do for both of those things. The sleeve is, how do I say this? The sleeve video is particular to the cropped sweater that I was designing, but you can apply it to any other sweater that you are making, as long as the sleeves are crocheted separately and then attached to the body proper. I also have a tutorial for the linen stitch hat that I designed, and they're both in the blog and they're both in YouTube. Now, I had mentioned that I wanted to do these tutorials in Spanish as well, but I ran out of space, so I deleted the videos that I put together to actually make the tutorial, right? And I thought, no problem. I can just import that video back into iMovie and do a voiceover in Spanish. Now, at least that I haven't figured out a way to do it. I will keep looking into it. I'm not giving up, but that will probably be something I do in the year 2019. My goodness, 2019 already. But I did write the linen stitch hat tutorial in Spanish. It's in the blog if you want to check that out. And the other thing that I wanted to chat with you guys about is that since I am now podcasting and blogging full-time and also selling on Etsy full-time, I really want to consider the idea of podcasting in my native language, which for those of you who don't know, I am Puerto Rican, so my language is Spanish. It is my main language. My main language. And I actually do not podcast in Spanish. I podcast in English. I don't know why. Because I did learn to crochet in Spanish first, but then all the YouTube videos I saw were mostly in English. Some were in Spanish. So I don't know. But I thought about perhaps doing a monthly podcast, vlogcast in Spanish. So let me know what you guys think about these things down below in the comments section, because I do love it when you guys comment. And the other thing that I wanted to run by you guys was, I think I've mentioned in previous podcasts that I made a list of makes that were ongoing in 2018 that I wanted to finish before 2019, or mostly before the 21st of December, which unfortunately is not something that's gonna happen, and I'm really upset. Potentially I could take all these projects to Puerto Rico, but then I would not be able to take any clothes. So you win some, you lose some. You really have to decide, you know, because yarn, I can make clothes out of yarn, but then I won't have anything to wear whilst I'm crocheting those clothes. So I just wanted to run that list by you really quickly. All right, so items to be completed before 2019. I had Edison socks, which I did complete. I shared those in the previous podcast. My sister's socks. I haven't even done one single stitch since I came back from New Hampshire. My mom's socks. They'll probably be completed at the beginning of 2019, which, you know, I'm okay with. My sister-in-law's hat, I finished. The Ollivander shawl. I have been knitting on it. Actually, I should have brought it to share it with you guys today, but I didn't. Edison's hat. I did finish that, guys. I did. The Aster top. I really should take that to Puerto Rico, though. I really want to see it finished. The Secret Garden dress. Not one single square has been made. And that's ridiculous, because if I just made one square a day, I would be able to finish this dress. Anyway, the Shield Maiden top, the DK version of it, which I was going to call Winter Maiden. No. The Angel Face Turban. No. Moving on. The Spicier Life blanket. No. Not done either. My unnamed top, which is the cropped crochet sweater inspired by a vintage butterick pattern. I did finish that. And the velvet skirt. I did finish that. So out of 14 items that I'm pretty sure these are the only incomplete. Yes, I'm pretty sure these are the only items that I had on the go all throughout 2019. So I've completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've completed 5 out of 14. I failed. But I'm not too upset about the Secret Garden dress, because I really feel that's my blanket. The Spice Your Life blanket will get finished because I just look at it in this huge bag and I'm like, oh, you would look so gorgeous. Really want to work on it. I think I just, you know, if I sit down, do a row a day, it'll get there, right? It'll get there. The Aster top I will actually share with you today, as I will the Jemima socks. But first and foremost, we really need to address the elephants in the room, because there are two that you can see and one that's kind of hidden. First, I am wearing a finished make, and this is simply an I-cord necklace, the tutorial for which you can find on Claire's, who is Bob Wilson 123 on YouTube. You can find it on her channel. This was crocheted using Seg, which is the Trendsetter yarn, if I'm not mistaken, because I lost the ball band or my dog ate it. It's either one of those. But it is a ribbon-like yarn, and it's beautiful, guys. Okay, it's I loved working with this. It just felt so fancy. It's 100% polyester, but just look at the shine and the colors. And I don't remember the name of the colorway, but this, I would call it kind of a sage green. And I'm also conveniently calling it that because I want to crochet some succulents out of it. So yes, I just used an 8mm hook, and I did an I-cord. I actually did an I-cord several times. I ripped it back and did it again because I want it to get as even a tension as possible. And if I just turn this around for you guys, you can see that I didn't really do anything fancy. I just left two long tails so that I could tie it up, and I think it's perfect like that. You could also do clasps. If you're into jewelry and you have clasps laying around, that you could also use those. The most annoying thing for me about this I-cord necklace is that where you started doing your chains, because these are basically chains that you do with your hands, and where you finish, they're two different sides, right? So here you finished on a chain, here you've got like the slip knot of when you started your chain, and that really annoys me. But you know, once I'm wearing it, I don't really notice that. I'm not really looking for those defects. But all I have to say, it's a pity that this yarn is discontinued, because I absolutely loved it. And if I could find more of it in, you know, clearance sales or whatever, I would probably buy this colorway again, because I have big plans for it. Also, this cost me $1, and I bought it at Knit, which is a yarny, crafty store in Orlando. So that's finished make number 1. Finished make number 2 is, I just want to share this with you. I'm not wearing it because I wanted to share it with you properly. This is a velvet skirt made with Bernat velvet, which is a 100% polyester yarn as well. It is a bulky weight. It recommends a 6.5mm crochet hook, and it's got really generous yardage. It's got 350 yards, if I'm not mistaken, and it's about 300 grams of yarn. So it's beautiful. I have 2 balls of Bernat velvet here in the Pagoda colorway. I bought this colorway at Michael's. I'm not sure if you could find this colorway anywhere else, or if it's discontinued, because I did go to the Yarnspirations website and I could not find the Pagoda colorway, and Joann's doesn't carry it either. But basically, I wanted a red or wine, you know, for Christmas, so I could wear it with a green shirt, but they were all out of it. So, you know, I do love green, so I just settled. Well, I didn't really settle. But yes, you probably want to know how I made this skirt, don't you? If you follow my blog, I wrote a blog post all about it. So if you want more detailed descriptions of how I made the skirt, then go check out the blog post, guys. What I will tell you is that I also posted a lot of live stories that are saved to my Instagram profile of the making of this skirt. So you could go check those out as well. But I will say that I loved every minute of crocheting this skirt. There are 230 stitches total in the skirt. it came out ruffled because I increased in every row, and that really gave it a wide ruffle look. I went with that because I have big hips, okay? I'm gonna stand up for you guys to give you a little idea of what I'm talking about. So, from the top, I am very small, okay? I'm part of the itty bitty titty committee, right? And my waist is not really that tucked in, and my hips are very wide. So I'm just gonna tighten this so you guys can see. So that is my shape. And I'm very familiar with it. So I knew that I could not just go for a simple A-line. Number one, I'm not a huge fan of it. Although there is one A-line silhouette that I really like, and it's in the Love It First Stitch book by Tilly and the Buttons. But I digress. So what I did for this beautiful, lovely, festive skirt, I had a band of elastic. This is a 3-inch elastic. I measured my waist. My waist is 27.5, 28 inches wide. So I cut a piece of elastic that was 27.5 inches long. And I sewed it using a 5/8 seam allowance, and I crocheted 17 stitches flat in rows. I folded those over the elastic, and I encased the elastic fully. And then this here, you can see the seam looks different from all the other crochet. This is where I seamed the two ends of the crochet together to make sure everything was neat, and to close everything off, of course. I sewed the two pieces of crochet together using single crochet. There were 70 stitches total here. And I used a 5mm hook. Now this skirt was inspired by Emily of Make E. I had seen this yarn previously, but I was like, no. But then Emily crocheted a pinafore dress for her little girls, and I was, yeah, I need that in my life. I need a Christmas skirt. So this year, instead of sewing a Christmas skirt, I have crocheted a Christmas skirt, and I could not be happier with it. The fit is absolutely lovely, and it's so soft to work with, this yarn. What I will say that I didn't like about the yarn, because everything else was brilliant, is that whilst I was crocheting, each of the two balls I used had one knot. Now, some people prefer to cut those knots out and keep crocheting. I usually, sometimes I leave them, depending on what it is that I'm crocheting. But you can't do that with this yarn, because as soon as you pull on the ends of the knots become undone. So I'm not too sure about how well it will stand to wear. So I will have to report back on that. But again, this is a Christmas skirt. I'll probably wear it 3-4 times in a year. Hand wash it, because the yarn does say hand wash only. And you know, so maybe I will have to report back on this 5 years from now, but we will keep in touch. So that is finished item number 2, and the biggest one off my hooks. Off my needles, I have Edison's hat, and it is the Bankhead hat, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's a very popular free pattern on Ravelry. So here is the hat. Here is the hat. I think it's beautiful, and you know what? I actually prefer the inside to the outside. I think that just looks so beautiful. So this hat, as I mentioned, it is the Bankhead hat I just made following the pattern, except for the fact that I'm lazy. I don't like doing 4 inches or 3 inches of rib. I usually stop at 2, and I just knit until I had 6 inches total, including the rib, because I'm not a big fan of making slouchy hats, and Edison doesn't really wear slouchy hats either, and this is for him. So that's what I did. In terms of yarn, I use Cascade Venezia, which is a worsted weight yarn. It is 219 grams, 3.5 ounces. I'm sorry, 219 yards, 3.5 ounces, 100 grams. And it is 70% merino wool and 30% silk. So it is not super washed. It's a beautiful yarn. The only thing I didn't like about working with it is even though I had it caked up, it tends to kind of curl on itself, as you can see by these ends. The yarn itself is chain plied. Oh, and this stitch marker, this is what I said I was going to talk to you guys about. So this was Lori's gift. Oh my god, I love these stitch markers, and they're with the, I don't know what this is called. I usually call it kidney wire, but that's my favorite clasp for earrings and stitch markers and everything. And she also included some pins. And you didn't say, Lori, but do you design these pins or? Oh, but the stitch markers, you have to have made these stitch markers, right? And they're so Christmassy and beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much, Lori, really. And you also included some chocolates, which I ate promptly. I just fix my hair a little bit. So I had 37 grams left over from making this hat, which is weird because usually when I knit, I have about 50 grams left over. So I don't know, but you can see that it knits up beautifully. The definition of the yarn is just stunning, and I really loved working with it. I bought this yarn off of Craftsy. I don't know if they still have it, but it's just beautiful. And I was like, well, I have 37 grams. Let me try and crochet a matching cowl because I wanted to see how the yarn would crochet up, if it would have the same definition. And it does. It is beautiful. It has the same definition, but I just did, again, this is a pattern by Bob Wilson 123 on YouTube. I don't remember the actual name, but it's reversible because it's the camel stitch, so you can use that on the outside, which is beautiful texture, or this on the outside, which also provides beautiful texture. So the nature of the stitch, I feel, makes it a really warm cowl, but I wanted something really tight around the neck so that it wouldn't flop over and let the wind in, which is what I don't like about cowls. But I only had 37 grams, so of course that this was all I could come up with. And either way, I am gonna break it up because I do have some yarn from Knit Picks, the cadet colorway that looks really similar to this. So I thought I would alternate both yarns. So I would have the silkiness of this merino silk blend and then the woolly wool of the Cascade to make it extra warm as a cowl. Plus also I need to make it tighter because this would fit me as a beautiful cowl. It's not too chunky, but a man's neck is wider. So I don't know why I didn't think of that. It didn't occur to me at all. So I will be making that, but the reason I wanted to at least finish the hat now is because Edison actually has to come back and work right after Christmas. So he's only spending until the 29th of December in Puerto Rico, and then he's coming back to Florida. So I wanted him to have something to open for Epiphany or Three Kings Day because I won't be here and I don't want him to be lonely. So at least he can have a little part of me with him. So that is finished object number 3. We're already 30 minutes into this podcast and I still have one more finished object to share with you. If you follow me on Instagram, once again, you will have seen this. I did a stories post about it and I am now gonna chat to you about it. Oh, it's so beautiful. I can't help it. Okay, so this is simply a pen pot jar that I had lying around, and it still had the label of what it was. It was bacon jam, if you're interested. And I was just clearing out my craft corner, which you can't really tell now, but I did. And I just saw that and I was like, why is that? Why? Why is it so ugly in a craft corner? So I immediately decided to resolve this issue by using some tacky glue and just applying it all over the jar. And then I used yarn round and around and I pushed it all together to make sure there were no gaps or to make it less gappy. And then I went over to Potter and Bloom's YouTube channel and she has a tutorial for this beautiful 3D flower. It's super simple and it's so stunning. So of course I had to make it, and now I'm thinking I have to make the flowers in general the same way just because it's beautiful. So this gray is Mainstays yarn, which is Walmart brand. It's $1.97, super affordable. And this vibrant chartreusey gorgeous green is by Karen Simply Soft, and this magenta pink is also Karen Simply Soft but sparkle. So I'm so happy with this, and I feel that every single pot in my house now needs to have this same color scheme, because why wouldn't you? So those are all the finished makes I have to share with you guys this week. As I mentioned, there is a sewing one, but I made it for somebody who watches the podcast, so I can't really show it. But what I can share with you are my makes in progress, or what I'm hooked on. So without further ado, let's see what I've been working on. Boop. Let me share with you some knitting first, which is unusual. I usually share crochet first, but yes. So I am working on the Jemima sock, which is a pattern by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears, and I'm using some Regia yarn, and this is what it looks like. So I believe I have the ball band as well. This yarn is Regia Perfect. Okay, but you know, I couldn't go for something so simple, and I really wish it kind of had, you know, this is me about to say, I really wish it kind of had a pattern for how they could come out as perfect. And then you open the ball band and lo and behold, it tells you, yeah, wow. My goodness, that just shows you I should read better. Knit the ribbing as you normally would. Well, you know what? That's completely misleading, because I normally do 12 rows or 15 rows of ribbing, and that's exactly what I did. And I did not have those lines right after. I apologize if you see me shifting a lot, but last week I fell and I hit my tailbone really hard on a metal bed frame, and I hit a nerve, so it keeps getting caught, and I'm just trying to shift around because it's very uncomfortable to be sitting down for such a long time. So I'm probably gonna have to pause it at some point and just get up, walk a bit, and then sit back down. Or podcast standing up, which was what I originally intended. But anyway, back to these lovely socks. So these are the Jemima socks. I started knitting these on Magic Loop. I couldn't stand it, guys. How do you guys do it? How do you work Magic Loop? I found it very slow, and I don't know. You know, I think maybe I was just coming up with excuses because I was afraid of it, and I was afraid of working the heel on Magic Loop and everything, so I just decided to and put it on some circulars, 9-inch circulars, which is what I usually knit my socks on. The Magic Loop always looks so fun, and I won't deny that it was very fun switching the yarn back and forth. Very entertaining, but I gave up. I gave up. Socks. So in the pattern, of course, Kay has you do a traditional heel flap and gusset, but I figured if I do a traditional heel flap and gusset, Mom will never see these socks before Epiphany. I mean, before her birthday, because I want them done for Epiphany, which is the 6th of July. The 6th of July is her birthday. Epiphany is on the 6th of January. Three Kings Day, yes. So it's a beautiful pattern. What I'm not liking is that I always seem to have pearls that disrupt the color changes. And I don't know if that's my intention, if that's just the way it happens in the pattern or what. But overall, I think it's looking so pretty. And I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel, which I attempted to do again after about 2 years of running away from the Fish Lips Kiss heel. And I'm just, working on the sock. I'm now on to the foot part of the sock. Oh, this reminds me, I do need to put the DPNs in here so that I can, I thought they were in here. I don't know what I did with them now, but I need to put the DPNs in here so I can take this to Puerto Rico, because if I don't have DPNs to work the toe, it ain't gonna fly. So the other thing I am working on is the Aster top, as I mentioned. I'm also working on the Ollivander shawl, but for time's sake, I will not be sharing that with you today. And the Aster top. I have finished, whoops, almost pulled my stitches. I have finished the front and back panels of the Aster top, and I am now working on the band for the bottom, front or back, I'm not sure which, but I'm just working on the bottom band. And it makes me so happy that I finally got to put in my green. It's such a beautiful, beautiful chartreusey green, and I feel it goes so well with the marled yarn. So let's talk about the Aster top. I feel that there really isn't as much guidance as I would have expected from a paid garment pattern. There is a little bit of guesswork that I'm doing in terms of the bands, because they just say to crochet to the length of, to the width of your panels. But do I crochet to the width of the panel while stretching it, making sure it fits, or while leaving it, just shrunk in itself and hoping it fits? And if it's shrunk, then stretch. So yes, I was very confused by that. I find it very troubling. The other thing that I find highly troubling, and it's the whole reason why this garment hasn't been finished yet, is this. Nothing against the hook per se right now. I got used to working with it. It's just the fact that it's a 2.5 millimeter crochet hook. I don't like it. I don't like crocheting with such tiny hook. It's also the reason why I abstained from crocheting my wedding dress, because I would have to use a 1.75 millimeter hook and lace yarn. It just wasn't gonna happen. So yes, that's the whole reason why this top is not finished. Fingering weight yarn with 2.5 millimeter hook. I'm just not a happy camper. But I love working up the yarn. This was sent to me by Knit Crate, because I am a Knit Crate ambassador. And it is beautiful marled yarn. It came in their contemporary artisan box. And it's just beautiful. I love working with the yarn. It is a little bit splitty because I'm working with such a tiny hook. But other than that, I have nothing bad to say about it, honestly. I love working with it. I love the marled. I was able to get the front and the back panel only using the new ball of yarn for one row in the second panel. So I'm hoping this cake of yarn will be enough to do the sleeves and the 4 bands that you have to do, because That's another thing about this garment. Everything is crocheted in pieces and then you seam it all together. And while I find it very frustrating, it's a beautiful top and it's wonderful yarn and I really want to finish it because I want to wear it. So I'm still debating on whether or not I'll take this home with me to Puerto Rico because I'm sure I can finish it there. But I have a lot of yarn that I'm packing for a lot of projects that I want to start. So I don't know. But I'm still loving what the finished object will be. The process, not so much. I do love that stitch though. It's kind of like, I call it a box gift stitch. I don't honestly know what it's called, and Marie Woolen, who's the designer of this garment, doesn't state it. But it's a beautiful kind of like bow box stitch, and I really love working this stitch. I've got nothing against it. It's, as I said, it's just beautiful and I love it, but 2.5mm hook is just driving me a little bit insane. I do have to confess that. But finally having been able to do my color change, I'm so thrilled. I think it's gonna look so beautiful if I manage to get the 2 bands and the sleeves out of that one ball of yarn, because just imagine it, guys. Just imagine it. You've got a band of green on this sleeve, a band of green, and a band of green at the bottom. I think it will provide intrigue and a beautiful, beautiful pop of color. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. My goodness, guys. I'm very excited, as you can tell. Now, as for makes, I am working a little bit on the Shield Maiden DK version top. And I finally figured out a way of adjusting sizes for, you know, medium and large. Why? Because it's probably written somewhere, but it struck me. If I take my gauge, which I do for my patterns, when I write them up, I do a gauge swatch and I include that in the free pattern. If I do my gauge swatch, I will know how many stitches per inch I have. And if I know how many stitches per inch I have, then I know how to work up for the other garments. So the Shield Maiden DK version is getting some work done on her, and I finally figured out a way to adjust the pattern for sizes medium and large. So I'm thrilled about that. And you know, really, it's not that I've figured out a way. I just have to sit down and write it, because I'm doing a pattern repeat, and my pattern repeat is going to establish how big it needs to be in order to fit a pattern repeat. Oh my god. Please ignore that. That was just a mess. I'm gonna share with you the little bit I'm working on right now. Okay. So this is the front panel or the back panel, not sure which, but you can see the beautiful gradients of color. I just basically did a fade, and the fades worked out beautifully. Working with Little Bean Loves hand painted yarns in the Wormtail colorway, which is this one, and then the Prongs colorway, which is this one, and now I'm gonna fade into the Toffee Apple colorway by Nora George. It's the only yarn that is not from Kayleen, but I had already used my Mooney colorway, so I can't really put it into the blouse design. And in terms of crafty things I'm working on, that's really it. I do want to share with you a little incoming goodie, and that was my Knit Crate membership arrived the day before yesterday. Yes, the day before yesterday. And it's, boys, It is scrumptious. So this month, the inspiration was all these beautiful, beautiful colors, right? And these are the hat patterns included in this month's knit crate. There's 3 hat patterns to choose from. They're all knit. And I'm toying with the idea of knitting one or crocheting a hat that I have in mind to design using the yarn as, of course, a Christmas gift. Because why wouldn't I do that to myself on the 20th of December? But this is a beautiful yarn all caked up. It's just scrumptious. You can see the shine on it. It's just perfection, if you ask me. And all these colors, I absolutely love them. So this is what it looks like in the hank of yarn. And this is Fantasy Worsted Base, which is 40% superwash merino, 30% baby alpaca, and 30% mulberry silk. Usually I find alpaca a bit prickly, but this is so scrumptious because of the merino and the silk. They kind of hide the alpaca a little bit, or maybe it's just a gorgeous alpaca and it's not. Can you see the halo on this? No. Okay. The colorway is Copperfields, and it's by the Yarnberry, which is the there we go, which is the yarn company for Salt City Knits, which is gorgeous. I cannot tell you enough good things about this month's crate. So if you're unfamiliar with Knit Crate is a yarn subscription box, and you can purchase a monthly subscription, a 6-month subscription, a yearly subscription, or if you're not interested in subscribing, you can go to the website and shop for the yarns individually. So if you're interested in this yarn but you don't want to receive the Knit Crate subscription, you can just go purchase them. These colorways are exclusive to Knit Crate and they are beautiful. Knit Crate is a Florida-based company as well, which I think is brilliant because all of the dyers that they're choosing are based in the States, which I really, really like that idea because I've been very unfamiliar with all these dyers from the States, and it's just opened my eyes to a whole new range of indie dyed yarn and all the possibilities. And it's just beautiful. It's beautifully curated yarns and beautifully curated patterns, some of which I may or may not make because I'm not primarily a knitter, but I can totally make a hat. I don't know if I can make it in time for Christmas, but I can make a hat. So, shall I test my abilities or should I crochet? Because in the crocheting, of course, I also thought about coming up with my own pattern. I have an idea in my head and it's buzzing. But of course I have 2 hanks, so I could knit one and crochet one. And then we can see how the yarn works up both ways. I think I do like that idea actually, guys. Knit and crochet. And the gift in this month's box were pom-pom makers, which I found really hilarious because there's a little tutorial kind of in my Instagram profile. I saved it and it's how I make a pom-pom. And essentially I don't use a pom-pom maker, but I will tell you guys the technique of brushing your pom-pom to fluff it up works whether or not you use a pom-pom maker. So yay! Fun times, fun times. A lot of pom-poms. I foresee a lot of pom-poms in my future, which is really hilarious because if you ask Mom and if you ask about past me didn't like pom-poms. She didn't understand what the fun of pom-poms were. But now, I think I am a convert. So never ever diss something you have not tried, because you never know. It might be your next favorite thing. think that really is it from me this Christmas. I'm kind of sad that Christmas is almost here because it's my favorite time of the year. And I never get tired of it, honestly. I'm thinking about Christmas all year round and possibilities of what I would like to do for Christmas crafts and all that, and it's just so beautiful. And it doesn't have to be a white Christmas for it to be a beautiful Christmas. There don't have to be huge presents. I baked cookies for all the friends that I have in Florida. Gingerbread cookies. I've never really successful at baking gingerbread cookies. I've always wanted to have the perfect gingerbread man. It's never worked out that way. But luckily there are enough Christmas movies on Netflix for me to forget that my gingerbread men aren't perfect whilst I eat them. So the world is alright in the end, which is the way it should be. Now, I feel like I'm just rambling, so I'll leave you with one final thought, and that is to thank you for every view, every subscription, every like, every comment that you've left on my channel, on my Instagram, on my Ravelry, on my Etsy shop, everything. Thank you so much for being a huge part of my 2018 year. It's been a year filled with many changes, which I am not a fan of. I am not a fan of changes. It takes me a while to warm up to them. So this year has taught me that I just need to embrace them. And life doesn't have to be so structured. You really need to embrace what makes you happy. And you guys have been coming along that journey with me. It was a very rocky start to the year, and it's been rocky ever since, honestly. I feel that now as we approach the winter solstice, I can embrace it. I can embrace the lessons, the hardships, and the emotional roller coaster that was the year of 2018. And I hope that we are all ready to embrace with open arms, fully aware of what we can and cannot do, and fully aware that most of the times we set our own limitations. Nobody else sets them for us. But all this so we can have the best 2019 ever. Because I don't know if we only live one life or not, but let's make this one and this year the craftiest, most lovable, most love-filled year. And let's just spread all the yarny goodness, all the yarny love, all the yarny joy. Because why wouldn't you? So thank you guys so much for sticking with me in this year, and I will see you next year with a proper podcast. That will not be until about the 10th of January, because I come back from Puerto Rico on the 8th of January. So yes, from my family to yours, from my house to yours, and from my pet to yours, have a Merry Christmas. Feliz Navidad y próspero año nuevo.